Hey guys, Loman02, currently playing a game of Canadian Highlander. I'm going to be playing with a very dubious deck. So I'm starting off kind of in Medias Race. This is live gameplay. I'm playing with a deck that I am kind of testing out from a engine building perspective. Hey, you too, bud. Um, so this is a blue-white control deck, but it's using enchantments to kind of control the pace of the game. The eternal question, I want to get down the Sensei's Dividing Top on turn 1, or do I want to play it on turn 2 with Fetch Land, leave a possibility of Spell Snare Pierce. I'm a Pierce Snare person here. I'm looking to win the game fast. If my opponent has a Mox start, I could snare a creature. If, I guess I could also just Pierce a Mox, but those are all options. Actually, I probably would just Pierce a Mox here, just to buy time. Okay, so I think this sort of deck's going to actually be, okay-ish in blue matchups. And this snare may get something here. Alright, that's kind of interesting. Do I want to get top going, or do I want to just get the tax down? I kind of want to just get tax down, because then I can play my hand short on lands. I have 2 1-mana counter spells, which is kind of interesting. I don't need to play lands out, and I can use the tax to shuffle my library for top. So this is a Parfait style combo enchantment. It's got some enchantment prison pieces in it. It's got a lot of really kind of bad cards. Thought Scour, that's fine. Oh, they're gonna mill me. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fine. I don't know if I agree with that decision. It's very aggressive. Ah, Deep Root Champions. We're playing against Tempo. This is not as good of a matchup. And I mean, we just drew Dig Through Time. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm actually I can leave the option open too. I could just fetch and not find, fail to find. I'm down a card that way, but it represents a lot more. Yeah, I'm gonna put my land down here. I think it makes more sense too. I mean, I have the option still. Not playing lands to land tax against Tempo is probably not good. But I haven't played this deck a ton, and I think it is kind of a bad deck. But it's fun. Alright, so we're playing against Rug, so we're probably just going to get stomped. Alright. Just act like I have a counter. Act like I'm scary. The moat going to the bin is not a big deal either, because we are a replenish deck. They can flash in a threat too. I'm gonna fetch here, and if they stifle bird it, I'm cool with that because I don't really want to find a land. Done. All right, let's get this tax going. This plays so bad. I should have also looked at my top. I'm kind of playing fast and loose here because I just don't think this deck's that good. So I gotta tighten up a little bit. I guess I didn't have to look with top. I'm probably taxing regardless. Get a bunch of blue. Get one more white. Land. Okay. Now, Tempo decks tend to have ways to bounce their own lands, like Dazes, like Gush. They're probably a Gush deck, too. This deck's a Gush deck, not because control tends to be, hard control tends to be a Gush deck, but because it's trying to bounce its lands for combos. Yeah, I think that's fine. Maybe I should look first. I'll look. I mean, the question becomes, do I want to look with the white mana? Because if I find, Swords to Plush the Path X, I can, pick it up. None of these are that great. None of these are that great, but Maze of Ith is Negate's pretty good too. We'll go Island, Maze of Ith, Negate on top. Negate could protect something at some point. And they're going to leave up their counter magic too. And then next turn they can put all their mana into this thing, which could be interesting. Okay. Well, I assume you're just going to pump all your mana into it. Yep. And this gives them access to the land drop to making it an 8/8 next turn. I think, it has protection from instants at that point. So it's got protection from instants now. Does not have protection from lands. I can take the Maze if I really wanted it. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to draw here. And I think I am going to be comfortable discarding land cards here. I'm going to play on a Plains here. It does take me off of Cryptic Command. Actually, I should have done that. I should have played the Prairie Stream out. I was like thinking about hidden information. It's actually better to just not do that. Play out the Prairie Stream. We will discard a Plains and probably an island here. The thing is with Hexdrinker, like, it can be a very quick clock. They know it's safe for the most part now, unless I have like Settle the Wreckage, but they probably have counter magic up on 7 cards. Yeah. But yeah, I should have definitely gone Prairie Stream, because if I do end up wanting to dig here, it'd be nice to have access to Spell Pierce. I'm probably just not going to dig here. Yeah, that's fine. That can bounce your Hexdrinker, which is, you know, the thing. They don't want to go for the Gusto here. Okay, and they've got a Treetop Village. Well, that moat would have been kind of nice against what it looks like their deck is up to. Yup. I mean, if they have Force of Wilks, I'm going to go for it here. They want to leave up their own Pierce. I'm not really worried about Pierce. They can't play Daze at this point. They're not going to attack. Alright, so they're assuming that I have it. I don't think I need Moat. I have Humility, although it doesn't work very good against just counters. No, it's not counters, it's levels. So they can't pierce this at a minimum. Okay, this has protection from instants. So what I can do is take Teferi, Swords to Plowshares, I think. And I think Teferi is going to be pretty good against their deck. I don't think I'm worried about land tax at this point. We'll just throw this thing back in their hand. They're going to try to give it protection from my effect here, like a hexproof thing, maybe. Okay. And what I'd like to do, they're still representing something or another. I don't need this Plains. Although, there is credence to saving some of the basics, because if I get Scroll Rack, which is another card in the deck, I can put it back in deck and get it back out with land tax again. But right now, I think mana fixing is more important. I kind of biffed some of that early, so, alright, well, get pierced. Man, you can't counter back because of Teferi. So, there's that. Okay. So, I think what we do here, because we kind of have counter spell protection from a lot of this stuff, we don't have double counter, but I can Swords to Plowshare, the one threat that we know is back in their hand. Okay, so up to 5. What am I at? 6. Okay. Probably just going to plow this thing. With them being off instance on Sorensen, they're on, like, I'm sorry, not Sorensen, Rug Tempo. It's going to make it a little more challenging for them. I'm just going to use the most expensive counter that I've got. If they have another threat that kind of stinks, maybe like a bolt or something. Counter target spell, draw a card. And then we'll Sensei's Dividing Top, EOT. Okay, well, we just got there. So, yeah, just rando managed to get there. I did not play this particularly well. Actually, I played this pretty badly. I'm going to tighten up. So this is the deck right here. I'm going to talk it a little bit after we get done playing. I'm playing this very loose, though. And sometimes I tend to do that. I hate to tell you guys, like if I'm playing decks that I think are not that great, I'm like, I have a tendency to play a little more loose in them. They're just not as exciting. It's a keeper. I mean, it's nothing stellar, but I mean, it's got a daze. So Solemnity actually combos out with Decree of Silence, which is an 8-mana enchantment that has 2 counters on it and counters the next 2 spells, removing a counter each time. And more importantly, Phyrexian Unlife. So they can beat you down to 0, and then if they can't remove the enchantments, which I have to assume, I have to really think about it, but actually Sorensen may not have a way to deal with enchantments. If they resolve, I mean, they can counter them. I don't think they typically play like Reclamation Sage. I think here I prefer, because it's early in the game, just so what do they do with that? What did they do with that? Because oftentimes, like some of these decks, if you have turn 1 like Serum Visions, you will 1 bottom, 1 top. You're getting Gush next turn. No, you can have Gush. Alright, Intuition. Savine's Reclamation was really the big inspiration for this deck. Because Solemnity and Phyrexian Unlife are very cheap cards. Alright, we're going to... Well, the one cool thing about Rishport is that it's going to enable us... They don't have another land. I think that's their only other land. They can tap my land. It's fine. I'm going to tap out for this top. That's kind of funny. I really don't think they have another land. I'm going to leave them with the Rishi P and nothing else. I think their next style... They're going to draw this counter spell. They have another land. Why would they play Rishport first? It's really aggressive, I think. Huh. Okay. Their deck wants green mana. I don't really care if they tap my land. I've got my next land drop, and I've got a top. Which top's kind of interesting with Rishport because it'll end up occupying their mana. Or when they go to tap my mana, I can use the top in response, which is kind of nice. I mean, sometimes you want to use top upkeep regardless, but... So they're going to have their island here, so they can play a threat. Maybe I can daze it. Maybe I can't. I'm actually kind of hoping they don't play a threat. I'm kind of hoping they just tap my land and force me to Sensei's Divining Top here. And I could even, like, Intuition at some point. Okay. A lot of the threats in Rug tend to... what do I do here? I'm going to go with this. Ponder with a fetch, you say. Well, I could also just leave up Intuition. Intuition's also just like a good card to play on their turn. Yeah, I'm just going to leave my lands up. I mean, they're probably going to try to tap it like EOT so they can try to resolve something, even though like I don't have a counterspell heavy hand. I kind of want to see what they do, too. They could flash in a threat as well. They don't tap my lands on EOT. Interesting. I just kind of want to see what they're up to. Okay, tapped green-blue land. So now they're going to have threat mana. Don't want to just get countered here. I think I'm fine with it. I mean, I could try to cantrip into like a 3-mana walker next turn. I mean, that'd be like, I'm kind of thinking like along the lines of like the easy method, like just get it to fairy down and probably win the game. All right, I'm going to just cast this. Go ahead and counter it if you want. If it's a 3-mana counter, I can counter back. All right, so... Let's get... I'm trying to think here. What's the best way to do this? I could just get Library of Alexandria. Try to go up on cards. It's going to be a little slow, though. And I think what I like doing here is getting to Fairy Time Raveler, because the card is quite good against them. I don't need all 3 parts of this. So the typical combo is going to be getting like Solemnity, Phyrexian Unlife, and Savine's Reclamation, and then you can just assemble this Tron, if you will. Now, I think it's very likely they have counter magic. I could also get Hall of Heliod's Curiosity if I wanted to, and they don't give me that. they probably just give me the enchantment, right? The enchantment on its own doesn't do anything, though. I think I like Sabine's Reclamation because it's such a it's such good value, and it works with Teferi. So I'll get this, and then I'll get my donkey card. I'm gonna try to get the bad combo card, which is going to be, where are you at? I have Solemnity in hand. It is Phyrexian Unlife. There you are. We'll probably just get the Unlife, would be my guess. Oh, okay. Well, OP had to run. It may be a more boring matchup for him too. I don't know, but they just disconned. Anyways, what the idea was here with this deck is to this goofy deck. We resolve this. We have Savine's Reclamation, which they could give to us. They probably don't because that means they have to counter it twice. They probably just give us Phyrexian Unlife here. At which point in time I can just cast it and get it countered and build up to Savine's Reclamation. And or resolve the Solemnity at some point. Or try to resolve the Solemnity. If they don't give me the Phyrexian Unlife and if it gets countered, then Savine's Reclamation with Days back up. But the idea is, like, I get Phyrexian Unlife down in Solemnity, and with Savine's Reclamation, I'm going to get, and I already have one half of the combo, I'm going to get Teferi too, which helps protect it a bit. I'm not able to be killed. So, you can go to 0 life, but they have to destroy Phyrexian Unlife to actually kill you because you can't get poison counters because of Solemnity. So it's one of the combos. The other piece to it that is really kind of like the full lock is Decree of Silence. At the end of the day, it's kind of just like a base blue-white deck that has like the good threats taken out of it, like the Planeswalkers and like some of the creatures that typically go into the deck, and maybe a small volume of like the interaction, but it's mostly still the interaction is still in there. And you're putting in these kind of enchantments that together can have very powerful synergies to end games. But don't like how I played game one. We still managed to get it, but I mean that's the power kind of Teferi Time Raveler. If you're playing against a flash deck, a counter spell, and flash creature kind of deck like Rug can tend to be, it's pretty strong because they probably had 1 to 2 cards in their hand that just didn't do anything anymore, and I still had counters, and my counters are just free. I just counter whatever I want. In this matchup, I was trying to actually go for the combo. We're still having like the Teferi backups. I think Teferi is just so strong that if you have the opportunity to not have to get Solemnity with the Intuition or the Gifts Ungiven, like why not just get Teferi because Sabine's Wreck will get back 2 things. So yeah, it's kind of how the deck is intended to run. But anyways, I'm gonna go to a quick pause, guys, and I'm gonna see if I can get some more games with this kind of weird, goofy, blue-white, artifact enchantment prison deck. 'Cause it's kind of cool. And I do a lot more like I don't want to call it serious, but like I try to put effort into building more like serious decks in the format, but I also think there's a lot of fun in building like these different decks that are out there that can be built. And when I get this next game, we will be back to play it. All right, guys, we're back for test game number 2. This hand honestly looks pretty acceptable. I'm on the play. Careful Study is not a card that you tend to see in like more hard control decks. Because this deck has such low card quality, like I have Solemnity in my hand, which is just a brick. Like I'd rather have it in the bin and have like a card that can keep me alive. I don't know what I'm playing against with Shivan Mastergore here, but I think in general it's just best to kick things off with a Careful Study to get rid of this kind of bad card. We'll get rid of Solemnity. This tie is looking a little dubious. I think I'm going to get rid of Negate here because I already have Counterspell. And I would kind of like to save the Mystic Confluence because it's so powerful. But getting rid of Solemnity is, it's fine. Like, our deck's kind of designed not to hard cast it, but to cheat it into play via Replenish or via Savine's Reclamation. All fueled by Gifts Ungiven. Alright, so land. Oh, okay. That's some damage coming my way. Alright, well. Alrighty. I don't have a ton of life gain in the deck. I do have some. Could also just counter here. It could be smart just to fetch a basic here. So let's crack this. I'm going to go ahead and tithe here, unless they want to fetch and not find something in response. They have 2 lands. I have 1 at this point with this on the stack. So what I'm going to do is we'll get Irrigated Farmland and Hallowed Fountain. Yeah, we'll get query stream here. Leave as many basics as we can in the deck because we are a land tax deck. I think here, so like I'm not really playing around Price of Progress, but I'm going to develop the land that comes into play tapped. This gives me access to Jason the following turn. Opponent's already shown their burn deck, so they're playing a Lava Spike. I think a Price of Progress be for 6 here and put me down to 9, which is not insignificant, but I don't know. We'll see what they do. They could just bolt me for 3, too. Tapped. All right, cool. Bolt. No. But I counter most things they do here, just to buy tempo. I mean, there may be some things I wouldn't counter, but I'm probably just going to counter for tempo. Scavenging Ooze, yep, getting countered for tempo. You don't often see Scavenging Ooze Lava Spike decks. I also don't want that in play because my deck does use the graveyard as a resource. Alright, well. The cool thing about this Jace is that I think what I'm going to do here is actually just top them or myself. What are they at, 5 cards? I'll top them, just get some information. Hazoret? No, I'm not going to put that on the bottom. I'm going to let them draw that. See if they have a land and they cast, I can bounce it with Jace, and then I have Mystic Confluence to get on the backswing, which is kind of nice. Okay. And Hazoret doesn't do anything right now. It's just a big clunker. Yep. Just a big thing. I mean, it's if it can attack, it's very threatening. Right. Alright, so let's bounce this goofball. And then if they want to play it again, like I'll just counter it and draw 2, which is pretty good. I'm already at 14 though, so I do need to be careful. I'm going to start trying to run more basics out. The deck does run plenty of them. I don't need to get killed by Price of Progress. Okay, well, this is going to be countered, and I'm going to draw 2. So go ahead and get another island. I don't think the Jace is going to be... They're going to be capable of... Come on. Moto. Come on. Alright. Draw. Okay. Well, we got there. We're just pretty much playing blue-white at this point in time. You have a Jace, which is just a fast card engine plus a good counter spell. Doesn't really showcase the power of the other part of the deck. We have the Solemnity available to us, but you need like the gifts kind of packages to get it going. All right, I think I'm going to try this hand out. It's a little slow, but it does have Energy Field, which is 1/2 of another combo, which is Rest in Peace Energy Field, which makes it very difficult for certain decks to kill you. Like this deck has green in it, so it could still be pretty challenging. We have Gush with no islands in hand, which is also kind of bad. Gush is not a typical one, like I was saying, I think in the first game, that you see in control decks. Because oftentimes the mana is so important to have on board. I wouldn't say it's more important than cards, but like 2 lands is a lot, right? Alright, yep. They mulled to 5, unfortunately. Alright. What do we got? This thing? That's interesting. Personal Tutor gets sorceries. Can't get Enlightened Tutor. And I can't cast out... actually, can it get... It gets a Veen's Wreck. I can also bounce this thing if I need to with Cryptic Command if I draw the mana I need. Hopefully they don't... Alright, they didn't have a very powerful turn there. Alright. I think we just counter for now. I don't think I need to Personal Tutor. If like things get out of hand, I can find Terminus as well. This is a Terminus deck. I don't do anything. I'll Personal Tutor here. I built this deck quite hastily, so I could have a better target for Personal Tutor than I remember having. Careful Study's interesting too. Replenish, no. Savine's Wreck is just always pretty good. Could just be Ponder too, just to find another island. Like, I honestly don't mind pondering just to find my land drops. Like, Careful Study gives me options to get rid of garbage, though. Careful Study may be good because I have this Gush and I have this Energy Field that are kind of just bad. But I really do want to find an island, so Ponder may be more correct. Gives me one more look for an island. And I also have one half a combo, so I mean, it does give me more options for a combo. The numbers are probably in Careful Study's favor. I know it's card disadvantage, but I'm going to take Ponder here. I'm just going to play this Seal of Cleansing out because I have the time right now. And if they have like Sulfuric Vortex or like Bomat Career, I can just use this card to randomly remove it. I'm not hugely worried at this very moment about this this Stromkirk Noble, Stromkirk Noble. But it's going to eventually become kind of out of hand. Or it's going to get out of hand. One thing I can do is just play Energy Field to buy a couple turns, a couple draw steps to find lands. Okay. Which we may be doing. I could have gotten Terminus here to try to stay out of this. They know I'm not drawing a land here, so they're going to let me have this. I can also set up to find land drops here. Off this Ponder, hopefully. We could just be embarrassing ourselves and not finding lands, though, which would be pretty bad. Okay, well, this is not great. But it's not the worst, either. I think I have to draw a path next turn. Pretty savage. No, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Just going to play this out for no value. Also an island, so Gush is a little closer to being live. I'm going to take 6 or half my life total, and then next turn I'm going to Teferi plus have Swords to Plowshares available to me. So I'm going to take 6, and I could just be dead. They're on 5 cards. It's a lot. But, you know, what are you going to do? Could have shuffled there too, to try to get like land. But right now, like it's not even like okay, so they want their 3-drop to happen. Okay, Giant Growth is the card. They have Berserk. Berserk kills me, puts me to 2. I mean, it could with the conjunction of the other cards in their hand, for sure. Well, hopefully I don't just die to a bunch of pump spells. Could. Certainly a thing. This hand was certainly not that great either. And neither is this deck, I mean, being fair, but I want to test it out. If it does get one of its combos off against this style of deck, it's going to be in a pretty good spot, because typically they don't have a ton of ways to answer artifacts and enchantments. They have like a braid for artifacts. All right, this is this guy. Yeah, I think this guy is fine. This is a lot of damage, though. Okay. So this is what, 7, 8, 9 down to 3? Oofa doofa. Alright, I'm going to blow their green mana up. So they're at a 3, so I can take one more hit off the guide. They know I've got Path... Oh, I put Path to Exile on top? Oh, goodness, I'm playing, like, teetotal trash, guys. That is not what I wanted to have on top. Okay, Energy Field. I think the plan now needs to be just to make land drops. Like, how do they get around this card? They could have, like, a Wasteland or something. But I don't really need to counter anything, because it's just... Yeah, okay. This is all damage to me, though, right? So I can't play this Teferi out. I gotta just kind of hang out. I mean, they can hit me, but it doesn't do anything. Alright, yep. Let me just reread this one more time. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. Alright, yep. So if Teferi gets killed, like, I'm in trouble. If I hit Rest in Peace, I can probably just end the game. But, you know, that may be a bit of a shot. I can't cast that one. Oh, that's actually a thing, though, too, that I need to be worried about. When I discard, I'm going to be in some trouble. I don't have to discard yet. So what I can do is this. Like, I mean, if they have burn spells like they just do, like, it'd be nice to draw, like, a Force of Negation to stop them on their turn, because Teferi will stop them from being cast on my turn at a minimum. Alright. I kind of want to just hit lands at this point. If I don't hit a land this turn, I'm going to be discarding, which is a problem for Energy Field. Alright, well, I hit a land, but it's not one I really want to fetch with. So I'm going to stay on the same plan. Like, I don't have to do anything here, so I'm just going to keep on taking draw steps. And as soon as I have to play something, because I'm going to discard, then, yeah, we're going to go to town. Okay? If they have an answer to this enchantment right now, yeah, I mean, that's just a thing. I guess I also have an extra turn with, like, Cryptic Command against them. They could attack with Goblin Guide to see if I discard sooner. It's another option they've got available to them. Alright, well, I will keep on drawing lands. I do not have a problem with that. I could also just draw Terminus, which would, you know, wipe the board. Or Mystical Tutor to wipe the board as well. The reason that'd be kind of nice is because I have decent counter magic in hand, so, like, I could fight over burn spells. I'm sorry to my opponent. This has got to be annoying. Energy Field is a really annoying card. And it's frankly, it's very tough for these style of decks to deal with, too. It's just like, what do I do? That said, like, they could have, like, Stomp. Like, Stomp or, like, Skullcrack, I think, also does it. Skullcrack may just be life gain. Like, Prevention is a couple other cards. There's a few cards that do prevention. Flaring Pain does prevention. Stomp does prevention. Okay. Well, we're going to be losing this energy field. Got to do it. Because I'm going to be discarding here. Okay. Energy field a down. If I fetch, I'm dead to this guide. If they have any burn, I'm just dead anyways. I'm going to let them draw. If they have, like, a protection spell for this thing, then I'm also in trouble. If they have a hasty thing, then I'm in trouble as well. Equipment would be, like, the best possible thing to see. Okay, I'm going to let that resolve because I can't do much about it. I am going to Path to Exile that. I'll leave the guide in play before I'll leave that in play. Another thing I can do is... Yeah, sure. That's not blocking. Let's see. We draw for the turn. Alright, they're both coming at me. Mox Diamond on top. Alright, well, I'm going to attempt this. If they have burn, I'm just dead to it. I mean, I can't fetch anyways, so if they had burn, they should just cast it. They have pump spell to, like, anything kills me here. So if they got it, they got it. Just, yeah. Go ahead and... Okay, yeah, I'm dead. I am dead. And that doesn't surprise me. I mean, like, if I didn't hit lands there kind of consecutively or hit the rest in peace, like, I was pretty sure I was dying. Or Enlightened Tutor could have done it at their EOT if they didn't have enough burn to get me to the counter magic into rest in peace. There's a couple things. This hand is kind of also the dog poop. But I'm on the verge with it, to be honest. I think I'm going to mull this. I think I can do better. Alright, this hand's fine. It's got 1/2 a combo. It's got a CB on if I want to get rid of it. I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to get rid of the... probably the irrigated farmland. Here I think we just play this land out. Okay. Well, we may just win this one on the power of Rip plus Rest in Peace. I mean, if they have, like, a Reclamation Sage, they can get us. There's a couple other common ones, like, yeah, Skull Clamp's fine. I want to say I'm cool with that. Okay. I'm just going to fetch for a Tundra here. They're going to try to go hard, it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and tithe first. Just going to find an island, I think. I just need to get lands here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not an island. Can't do that. Can't do that. I mean, it could, but I'm not going to find a duel that shocks me. I'm just going to Enlighten Tutor here for Energy Field. I'll try to cast that on my next turn and see if I can just get them. So... Energy Field. Okay. I mean, if they just have a wasteland, they can get me here, so maybe... Do I play this greedy? I'm going to play this out, and hopefully they don't just have it. Like, if they just have it, they just have it, and that's that, but, you know... What are you going to do? And I would like to hit a land and like have protection for these things with negate, but these are all asks. We'll see what we get here. They have a 4/3. They're probably going to have more. If they have the Rec Sage just right off the bat, like that's rough beats. We're probably losing. Okay, Kari Zev does not work with Skull Clamp actually, so they're not going to attack here. All right, well that was pretty nice. Alright, rest in peace. And this may just hard brick their deck. May. Alright. I'm going to leave this negate up. I could go ahead and see beyond here and get rid of negate and try to find something better, but like I'd rather have my mana open. If they have like what's the big one that's not a creature in their deck they could possibly have in their deck? So they could have Rec Sage. The one that I'm kind of worried about is the red-green one that does 1 damage every time a player casts a non-creature spell. God, I can never remember it. Cindervines. That card is probably in their deck. This of note does not prevent life loss, so they could also have spells that do that sort of thing. Okay, Seal of Cleansing. I think here I'm just going to see beyond. Alright, well, Dig Through Time is embarrassing. That said, I mean, yeah, I mean, Dig Through Time, I'm never casting that. I could blow up the clamp just to get rid of it. 2 damage? Yeah, you got it, bud. I assume that most of your deck is very little mana. That's fine. You have a Kari Zev at 2/2. Okay. Okay. Sorry, my OP. This has got to be frustrating. I didn't set it up this way. This is just not a good matchup for them. If I get my combo down, it's pretty heinous. That was the kind of draw I was looking for. Like, I felt like once I got a hard counter for pretty much like the Rex Sage or whatever they have to deal with the combo I've got going on, I'm going to be pretty set. Don't think there's much they can do about it. Yep. You can have all the things and stuff you'd like. Doesn't really matter because it doesn't do any damage. It's actually going to kill you faster than it will kill me. Alright, Daze. Okay. That's not likely to counter much. They have the same amount of mana I do, so going to take a while. I'm on 27 minutes. I don't want to burn too much of their time. Yeah, I don't think I've played particularly well this deck, but it looks like it's going to snag some games. It also has enough right going for it that I don't think it can do too horribly, but I mean, it has like an 85th percentile blue-white shell that I've played a bunch. Then it's got some clunky cards in it. So the problem with like these combos is like these are not combos that like just win you the game. So like one of the things I found is like yeah, you have it. It's just life loss. It doesn't matter because it can't damage me. All right, so it's never gonna renown. I'm pretty sure it just does 2 damage for non-creature spells. Yeah, they have a lot of great anti-control cards. The problem is, like, once you get a combo like this down, like, they don't... Like, the black decks actually can't... Like, the aggressive black decks actually can deal with this sort of nonsense because they have life loss capabilities. Maybe I should have honestly saved that Dig Through Time. Like, the game may be going that way. I doubt they're running Nature's Claim or something like that because they don't want us to gain life, but if they were, I'd still be kind of timorous tapping down for it. EOT once I got to 8. I mean, yeah, I'm just going to sit here behind my moat. I mean, and I wouldn't begrudge them if they concede. Would not begrudge them if they concede this one. It's not looking great. I'm trying to think if there are outs for them. I mean, if they're playing a pretty typical like RG beatdown deck, well, I don't need to use that. I just kind of want to draw lands and or entreat the Angels. Not even really entreat the Angels yet. A Planeswalker, like a cheap Planeswalker, would be good, so I could leave up this Cryptic Command. Like one more land and then a Teferi would be good. I could cast this. I'm going to wait till I get another land. I'm not in a rush here. Again, no rush. Like, if they have, like, for whatever reason, like a Flaring Pain, they have a Stomp, too. They probably have a Stomp. But I can counter that with Negate. Yeah, I forgot about Stomp. Stomp / the new Giant. I think it's not Bonebreaker, whatever the Giant's name is. Also gets through this. That's another combo, or another card to watch out with on this combo. Yeah, sure, I'll cast this thing. Just put all their Dumbos on the bottom. Alright, so, yep. I think I would have just made that a 1/1 and drawn. Yep. Alright, it's not likely they can kill me in one hit. I'm going to take the risk here. I mean, this Teferi is going to get hit. I'm going to untap 2 here because I want to leave up Negate, and I'd like to have Swords to Plowshares up to deal with their threat. Okay. I mean, if we get stomped, I guess we can't get stomped here. They could, like, throw a bunch of burn at this Teferi if they wanted to. I'm going to discard Seal. Seal seems really bad. I mean, if they draw the Cindervines, like, they're just going to play it. Alright, just get this. Force him to play more to the board. Alright, they're not going to play more to the board. Looking for lands here. Any lands, be nice. Alright, Jace. I'm just going to look at the top of my deck. No, I actually want the land. Alright. Alright, that was game. I'm sorry, I'm chatting on this too. I didn't realize I was chatting. This is a very, very professionally done video, but I kind of want to do more live gameplay and more testing. I may cut it there, guys. So actually, let's jump back over the deck. I like chatting in Discord and whatever bullshit. So let's jump back over to the deck here. Sorry, Shivan, that was a rougher matchup. Let me tell my opponent. Thanks for the games. Maybe that's what my deck does. I shouldn't apologize for it, but I can understand from their position. Yeah. 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 Yeah, just that was a tough spot for them. But anyways, that's kind of what this deck's designed to beat up on. Is like the medium decks, the red aggressive decks, just the aggressive decks. So this is the basis of this deck is a fairly standard blue-white control shell, but there's been some very techy things done to it. Again, like I kind of said in the beginning, this is not designed to be a competitive level deck. It is tier meme, probably tier 3 to 4 at a minimum. I do think there is more work to be done on it. I do not think I played it exceptionally well in the games you saw because I'm jumping about and I probably could have been playing better. I haven't been really impressed with Seal of Cleansing, so that may come out. But here's what the deck's up to. Rest in Peace. Kind of a bad card, but it is randomly good against certain archetypes and strategies. And then you've got, where are you at? Energy Field. Also kind of a bad card. Let me pull up the display panel. I mean, you just saw these cards in action. But here's how they work. Energy Field. If I have a card go to my graveyard, this thing dies. But it prevents all damage up until that point in time. Note damage, not life loss, damage. Rest in Peace. it exiles cards from the yard, so they never really hit the bin. They just go to exile right away. So Energy Field plus Rest in Peace means it's very hard for a red-based aggressive deck or any sort of aggressive deck to really do damage to your face. They can still hit your Planeswalkers, which is why I kind of had to protect the Teferi there, because my Teferi is not immune to damage like I am. But this is one of the combos. An additional combo that the deck has kind of going for it is Phyrexian Unlife, which in and of itself actually does buy some time. Like Energy Field and like Phyrexian Unlife actually can buy some time. Like you saw me use Energy Field for in that one game, where I was just looking to like top deck and find the other half, which is Rip. And then Solemnity. Solemnity, the way this works is like you'll go to 0 life, they'll beat you down, you'll go to 0 life, and then you won't get poison counters because of Solemnity. So it basically makes you immune to dying via damage. They can still deck you, they can still use other alternate win cons, they can blow the enchantments up, whatever. So it's kind of a soft lock. It's a very soft lock. It's a little bit harder than Energy Field and Rest in Peace. Like my opponent and I were talking about, like they had Stomp available, they had Skullcrack available. I mean, I was pretty careful about leaving the gate up. They had Cindervines likely in their deck. They didn't confirm they had that, but that was one of the cards I was thinking of. They can get around, these combos, but they're not going to get around Solemnity, Phyrexian Life, unless they have specifically Cindervines, and I can't counter it, and they blow one of the halves up. Then you'll die. So you have those combos going. Another combo that works with the Phyrexian Life and Solemnity is this big old dumpster of a card right here, Decree of Silence. Decree of Silence is an 8-mana spell. It says whenever an opponent casts a spell, counter it. Counter that spell and put a depletion counter on Decree of Silence. There are 3 or more depletion counters on Decree of Silence sacrifice. Actually, I thought this was only 2 times. Shows you what I know, because I think this card gets played Commander and nowhere else. It also cycles for a bazillion. And you can counter a spell when you cycle it for Brazilian. The things you get when you read the card, right? That said, this will not get depletion counters if you have Solemnity in play, so it just counters every spell that they cast, unless they have a spell that is specifically uncounterable, like Thrun or like Carnage Tyrant, so you can get around it. But the cream dream is really to get like Phyrexian Life, Solemnity, and like Decree of Silence down, and then like the bar to answering it is like generally speaking, like you have to blow up the Solemnity with like an Abrupt Decay, which is an uncounterable spell. And then they can kind of, take apart your pillow fort that you have going on. So how do you get all this nonsense into play? How do you find this nonsense? How do you get it into play? Because it's pretty clunky, right? Like looking at these spells, like trying to find them and like get them into play for 6 mana or 4 mana or a bazillion mana with Decree of Silence is not that easy. So the way the deck's set up is like, one, you have Enlightened Tutor. Sometimes you do just hard cast them if you have the other piece, like you saw with Rest in Peace Energy Field there. And sometimes you want to cheat him into play. So you have Savine's Reclamation that tends to work really well. Savine's Reclamation is a powerful card. So front half of the card, you get back a permanent that has converted mana cost 3 or less, just a permanent. It also has flashback for 4 and a white, and you can bring back 2 permanents with it. So if you cast it from hand and then cast it again from graveyard, you get a grand total of 3 permanents that have converted mana cost 3 or less. This does not work with Decree of Silence, but it works with all of the other pillow fort components that are in kind of that enchantment pool. So how do you set up this, like Savine's Reclamation plus 2 of these, because it's multiple 2-card combos. We have Intuition to set that up, another pointed card in the deck. And you have Gifts Ungiven. So you're using these cards like EOT to like bin these combo components. Now you may say like, well, why wouldn't you just play Time Vault? Because yes, Time Vault is far better. And yes, you could. But I'm not, because I'm trying to test out Savine's Reclamation, kind of like a deck that is not going to get as many free wins as Time Vault. Like, everyone knows Time Vault's good. It's probably some variety of it is the best in my opinion. Like, I'll just put it out there. It's the best control deck. I tend to think Grixis, but there are many versions of Vault. There's Bant Vault. There's a lot of Vault decks. But Vault makes for a very good finisher and control. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. That's just not worth doing. I mean, like, and hopefully you get that. I mean, like, not all the decks I put up, I want to be, like, just uber competitive. I want some that are just a little more interesting, entertaining, and, like, also just spark folks' creativity. Because Canadian Highlander, I think can be looked at in a lot of ways. I mean, it can be looked at to whatever the individual player wants to, however they want to look at it. But I think one of the cool things about it is, like, you get to brew, and you get to do some interesting things, and, like, sometimes they turn out to be turds. And sometimes they turn out to be pretty good. And I don't think this deck's great. Like, we did win the 2 games that I showcased here just playing live. But I think a lot of it was on the back of, like, the blue, like, the 85th percentile of the deck, like the rest of the deck. Yes, we won our last game off Rest in Peace and Rip. But it was a very specific matchup. Like, we just had it, right? Which I guess is kind of like one of the cool things you get by doing this sort of thing. Anyways, so you have Gifts Ungiven, you have Intuition. You also have cards like Frantic Search, because one of the problems with some of these cards is they're really bad. Like, these cards on their own are really bad, and sometimes you just want them in your graveyard. Sometimes you want Savine's Reclamation in your graveyard because you need to get 2 pieces of a combo, into play off of Savine's Reclamation, and you don't have enough mana to cast it on the front half for only 1 piece of it, and then on the back half to get the other half, because that ends up being 7 mana? I'm sorry, 8 mana. So you tend to get Frantic Search inside your gifts piles. It's also kind of just actually, in this deck, a decent incremental play in the middle of the game or at instant speed on their EOT, because you assume some risk in a build like this, in this style of building blue-white, by playing pretty much actively bad cards, that combo out well together, that do powerful things when they're with other cards. Going down on cards is really not that big of a deal. Like, especially if you're getting rid of bad cards. Like, you're just like, all right, I have this, rest in peace in my hand, and I'm a mile away from doing anything with it. Like, if you're Frantic Searching to find 2 new cards, yes, like, technically, like, hand size is down, but you have gotten to more relevant cards, and you possibly put that enchantment exactly where you want it for Savine's Reclamation later. Additionally, effects like Frantic Search, when you're getting rid of these bad quote-unquote cards, you can have Replenish, which just brings all of the enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you can just bin all of these things and then eventually bring them back. There's also, some argument to, like, splashing black in this deck. I don't have enough points left for Demonic Tutor, but Entomb is kind of good with this strategy too. If you just need, like, one component, you've already got one component in there. I think Entomb is definitely a card that you could argue should be in the deck. The problem is right now I can't think of a ton of other black cards that I'd really enjoy playing. You may put a Vindicate in just as a thing to blow something up, but like Council's Judgment does the same thing, and probably it doesn't do the same thing, but it does what Vindicate does. I find less and less as the format progresses, so I want to blow up lands with Vindicate, especially on a deck like this. I'm going to save my Vindicates and my Council's Judgments for, like, good things. Every once in a while you're going to hit, like the Academy matchup where you just need to blow up their Academy. But I've got Strip Mine, I've got Field of Ruin in the deck for that. So I don't think you need Vindicate. The other card that would interest me next to Entomb would be Collected Brutality. 1, discard's nice. 2, another cool thing about it is it lets you discard, which, like I said, we're going to have some bad cards in our hands. And because we want to replenish Savine's Reclamation style combo, being able to just get them out of your hand, it's not a big loss, and it also puts them in a place where you can get vast advantage through some of your cards like Replenish and Savine's Reclamation for generally mana efficiency. Alright, so that's kind of what the deck has going on. So because we're an Enlightened Tutor deck on these kind of bad combo Pillow Fort enchantments with very few win cons, I've also kind of gone ahead and added some other enchantments that are kind of Pillow Forty. Typically you'd have like Wrath effects like Supreme Verdict over Moat and Humility, but I'm playing both these because I am on a deck that is looking to use enchantments to win, and because I have a little bit more access to them through cards like Enlightened Tutor. I also have Replenish, so if I'm using, my Frantic Searches, and you saw it in gameplay, my Careful Study, to bin these things, I can bring them all back at once and sometimes set up an insurmountable board position, or even an unwinnable board position for certain decks. There's certain decks just can't beat it. It's not many, but there are some that just don't beat it, and if you have Counter Magic up, they're just never going to beat it, because you have to only counter like 3 spells in their deck, and, you generally can know what they are. Alright, so again, we have a lot of bad spells. I kind of talked a couple of the cards that put them in the bin, generally at card disadvantage, but like I said, I don't think it's really disadvantage when you look at it as card quality over quantity. But we have some other weird cards that you don't tend to see anymore. We have Scroll Rack. Scroll Rack is an interesting card from the standpoint. There's not a ton of cards in Magic's history that allow you to take cards from your hand zone and put them back in your library. Scroll Rack does that. So if you don't want something to be in your hand, it's very easy to get rid of it. And actually, there's a very old combo. It's called Parfait combo, where you use Scroll Rack with this card right here, Land Tax, which gets laughed at because it's not that great. And you saw me use it in like one of the first games where and I didn't like my play that game, but where I played the fetch and then popped the fetch not to find just to get Land Tax going. But you use Land Tax to put a bunch of lands in your hand. They're just lands. But if you have an effect like Scroll Rack or like Trade Routes, which is another card this deck's playing, you can use some minimal amount of mana to convert those cards into actual cards, those land cards into actual cards, to hopefully have positive effects for you winning the game. You also have Latnam's Legacy, which does see more play. It's a little more common. You see it in like Oath decks. You sometimes just see it in regular old control decks. I don't tend to like it as much anymore in regular control decks. I'd rather just have another counterspell. But the card is quite good for decks like this where you have a little more variable card quality overall. We also have Sea Beyond, which is a sorcery, which is kind of to its detriment, but it allows you to draw 2 cards, then shuffle a card from your hand into your library to just get rid of the rubbish. So pretty good. And then we have the standard ones like Brainstorm and Jace the Mind Sculptor, just really good cards. We are running a light Miracles package. We have Terminus in the deck. I'm not running Entreat the Angels, and part of that's because I'm testing the deck right now. And, when I test it, like, I don't really want to just win off Entreat the Angels, because it's kind of the go-to in a lot of the blue-white control decks. It's not like the blue-white control decks have more ways to win, and I think as they're evolving, they're becoming more mid-rangey, more planeswalkers, more 3-mana creatures with flash, like Vendilion Click, Brazen Bower, or Aven Mind Sensor, and Nimble Obstructionist. But a lot of them do still tend to run Mystical Tutor, and you top tutor for Terminus or Entreat the Angels. I think Terminus is fairly irreplaceable because it's a 1-mana Wrath of God that can be done at instant speed via top or any sort of draw effect like Latnam's Legacy triggers, etc. Opt, you name it. Portent trigger on their upkeep. There are a lot of them in the deck. You can even Gush on their turn if you really had to in a bind. But anyways, there's a lot of ways to very effectively use Terminus. The Miracle Trigger is extremely powerful, not only because of its mana efficiency, but because you can then use it at instant speed. So card is just really, really good, and I think really kind of necessary for this deck to have both to gain both mana advantage and card advantage over the very fast aggressive decks. Because counterspells are good, people bemoan counterspells, but if you push enough Goblin Guides out, like 2-mana spells don't keep up with 1-mana spells. Eventually, the control player is just going to fall over and die. And that's kind of why you go in this direction with this build, is because you're highly concerned with less interactive, aggressive strategies that can be out there. While still kind of having some of the flexibility of like blue-white control. You have more assumed risk as well. Also have Personal Tutor, which I'm not convinced is right in the deck. I just kind of want to put Personal Tutor in because I really like having access to my Terminus. I oftentimes find I need a Terminus to not die, but I probably need to reconsider Personal Tutor. I mean, if I were to play Idyllic Tutor, which is a 3-mana, find any enchantment in your deck, Personal Tutor becomes a little more powerful, but that card is so bad. It's 3 mana just to go find something and put it in your hand. It's so rugged. It's so crazy to me too, how much more powerful Fabricate is in this format. I mean, mostly because of Black Lotus. Let's get real. Mostly Black Lotus, and/or you just play it in Tolarian Academy decks where you have so much mana it really doesn't matter. But yeah, Idyllic Tutor is really rough. But maybe the deck should run it just because it's a perfect selection. Yeah. So a couple other things that are interesting. You don't often see Daze in the hardest of control decks. This is a very hard control deck. I like Daze. I like Gush in this build because we are a land tax deck. Oftentimes it's going to be beneficial to get back on lands. Path to Exile does some lifting on that, which this card's in almost every white deck. But I oftentimes don't want to cast it. It's so hard to cast at the right time because ramping someone in this format is very dangerous. That said, it has some inner synergies with the land taxes going on. We've got Mox Diamond, which is not a card you also do not see that often in blue-white control decks. But again, like I said, I have this land tax going on. I've got Tithe. I have a lot of expensive, clunky stuff, and just getting mana down is pretty good. I'm also on 39 lands, which is not a small amount. Other than that, guys, it's pretty much just blue-white control. How does the deck actually literally win? Right now, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Celestial Colonnade, and Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. That's straight up it. That's all it's got going for it. There's not even a Snapcaster in the build right now, which is wrong. I just noticed there's no Snapcaster in this build. That's definitely got to be wrong. But it's honestly, it's fine too from the standpoint. Actually, I don't have a Search for Azcanta either. There's a lot of cards missing. Search for Azcanta probably should be in this build. Matter of fact, let's do some changes to it now. Search for Azcanta just should... Actually, Search is a bad command. That is a bad command to search for. Search for as. That should be in this deck. Because it's just so good. I also do think that Snapcaster Mage should be in this deck. I just don't want to play creatures. I don't want to lose to Oath. What do we take out for Snapcaster Mage? So one of the things I found when I played this deck a grand total of 3 times. The first game I was in, I won a game that was not on camera. I won a game, lost a game, and then was in game 3, and I was in a pretty good position unless they had 2 disenchant effects to do a gifts combo on their EOT. There's a Cabal in play, so I would have taken some damage off that. I was at 6 life. I would have basically stopped taking damage I would have gotten a Solemnity plus Phyrexian Life, and then been unable to die. With Force of Will backup, so I would not have. It was Force of Negation backup. So I would have taken 2 disenchant effects to get out of it. So I don't know if I would have won that game or not. But one of the big issues I found in that game, and that I ended up adding cards for, is Council's Judgment and Unexpectedly Absent. I hate the Oblivion Ring effects. Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy are so common. And getting those things blown up is just so bad. But this deck has a pretty big problem with Planeswalkers. One of the things that I was thinking about doing with the deck is adding in Helm of Obedience. Because we're already playing Rest in Peace for one of our Pillow Fort locks. To some extent, it may make sense just to run that thing because, it's not a cheap and easy win con, but it's an easy win con, but it takes a lot of mana. But it is easy. If you just get it, you just kill them on the spot. It just mills them out. There's no way of getting around it unless they blow up the Rest in Peace in response or something like that. The problem is just one more, excuse the language, dog shit card in the deck. So it's, oof. But anyways, I did add Council's Judgment and Unexpectedly Absent because I found that, one of the problems this deck has, if it does not counter a Planeswalker, it's not getting rid of a Planeswalker. And it doesn't tend to win very fast. I mean, it has a couple ways. It has, Teferi. It had Teferi at the time because that was, one of my win cons. I'm still looking at this. What do we cut? Maybe just cut Personal Tutor and put Snapcaster in. Personal Tutor is such dog crap. Yeah, let's cut it. Snapcaster is just such a better card. And it should have been here before. I wouldn't mind actually also playing Timely Reinforcements in this deck just to block and stay alive. The problem is it's not an enchantment. It's harder to find in the deck. It's so good, though. My thought with this deck is it's such a meta deck anyways that, you have a little bit of room to kind of, explore with it because what this deck's designed to beat is, really, the low-to-the-ground aggressive decks and, the medium-style decks. It doesn't have great game against the top decks in the field because it's just so goddamn slow. Although, that said, playing Rest in Peace is kind of interesting because, I do think the lands, control and mid-range decks are pretty decent and powerful. The problem is they just have such a wide range of interaction that they'll be able to deal with a Rest in Peace at some point in time with an Abrupt Decay or something along those lines. But it does kind of show-stop them. Actually, Rest in Peace is also good against Storm. This deck's not really great against Time Vault. But, it's a subsidiary control deck. But I think, I was kind of getting at is, you can take these decks and you can definitely... because they're already meta decks, you can kind of explore what would be generally suboptimal options to make it really good at what it's supposed to do, what it's supposed to beat. Which it's a thing. But anyways, this is I'm calling it Blueberry Parfait combo. It's basically a blue-white prison deck. It's a little more prison-y than the Draw Go style, mid-range style variants of the deck. I do think it's worse. From a holistic standpoint and assessment of the deck, I think it's worse. But it can also win games. And it's got some interesting stuff going on. And, the old guy in me just wanted to play, trade routes and scroll rack with land tax. And all these kind of, excuse the language, bullshit enchantments. Just lock folks out and just, win games very arduously. And it kind of also reminds me of, the very old school blue-white decks. I have, one win con. This has got 2. I guess 3. Another thing you could do with this deck, to kind of tangent again, and I've gone on a few tangents this one, because, you're kind of sitting through a building session and playtesting session with me, is you could also, put back to basics in it. That's one of the things I was considering in the initial build. There's a lot of non-basics in this deck, though. There's enough that, it is a problem over time, because you have, Heliod's Hall of Generosity to get these crappy enchantments back if you don't already have Rip in play. This card's a gem. Look at this thing. This is basically the Volrath Stronghold for enchantments. It's also equivalent to Academy Runes. Yeah, it's a cool card. Yeah. And then, like, yeah, there's a lot of just weird lands. Oh, Library of Alexandria is in this deck, too, which is also sick. This is a small point spread blue-white control deck. And Libraries, I don't know. It's so hard to get away with playing it in the format. Like, you really got to be on these, like, weirdo kind of decks that can play these small spreads to kind of do it. I don't think it's really played anymore. I very rarely see it in play. It's very good against blue decks. It's very bad against almost everything else. What else do we have? We have Field of Ruin plus the Wasteland. There's a couple other cool ones. Like, this land's good. Mystic Sanctuary is a good card. Tabernacle? Yeah. So kind of just like OG, like just, stop everything, sort of control, take forever to win. I think there's a lot more tuning that can be done in it. There's a couple other cards I was thinking, like Compulsion and like Attunement are interesting cards. Attunement is a 3 mana, blue and 2 enchantment. It does nothing when it resolves. It just sits on the board, and if you return it, it has an activated ability, return Attunement to your hand, draw 3 cards, discard 4 cards. So basically it filters. It's like a very kind of expensive... it's a very expensive filtering spell. But it's also an enchantment, so you can get it back with like Savine's Wreck and with Replenish, which is kind of cool. And then Compulsion is a blue and a 1 enchantment. Pay blue and a 1, discard a card, draw a card. Secondary activated ability, blue and 1. Discard, not discard, but sacrifice Compulsion and draw a card. So it's also kind of like a secondary like Trade Routes or like Scroll Rack if you get to a big mana. The thing is with Canadian Highlander games, like they're often decided so quickly that like unless you're like stopping the opponent's game plan utterly, you don't have a ton of time to do that kind of stuff. Like you generally have to like backload that. Like you stop their plan and then like you can kind of go into these dirtily plans like trade routes, compulsion, scroll rack, etc. And then do that. So yeah. Anyways, that's this deck. I hope it has at least been interesting and maybe sparked some creativity if you want to try kind of a different take on blue-white. It's very fun. Well, I guess it's very fun for the person playing. It's just so goofy. Like I just look at it, it just makes me laugh. It's just, I don't think it's good. I just don't think it's that good. But it's really kind of fun to play. It's kind of fun to play some of these decks that are maybe not like the best in class. And it's kind of also fun to polish up a turret the best you can. Like I don't think this thing's like a heavy hitter, but I probably will keep on like tinkering with it and trying to get it to be the best at what it's trying to do. Will it ever be great? No, it won't. But it's fun, and who knows? Like in the future, there could just be some bombastic, enchantment that like is just so worth it that like you want to play a deck like this. I think at that point you probably pare down the enchantments, just have that one really good one, and just do that. But as of yet, I have yet to find that one enchantment. I mean, like Overwhelming Splendor, I suppose. It's not that great though. It's basically like Humility that draws you an extra card every turn for like a bazillion mana. It's like 8 mana or something. The one that actually was interesting to me is the Eternal Sun or Everlasting Sun, the 6 mana artifact that gives all your creatures +1/+1, makes all your spells cost 1 less to cast, and all activated abilities and loyalty abilities, like all activated abilities, I think it is, all activated abilities and loyalty abilities of planeswalkers and creatures can't be activated. So it kills all of their planeswalkers. It also kills all your planeswalkers, which means I would be in the department of needing to find another win con for the deck. Because I don't want to try to win with just Celestial Colonnade. If it gets blown up, you're just like, alright, well, game's over. I can't win. I guess you got to mill them at that point, which is impossible for this deck. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. I've been rambling for quite a while. Maybe it's the old man in me. Maybe it's the guy who just loves building these kind of, interesting, intricate tier 3 decks. This is certainly got to be in tier 3. But I mean, honestly, if you pick up a deck and you play it well, you can do well with it. I think I kind of played like a ham in the games I showcased. I know I did. Probably because I was BSing and just like I said, like I don't take this deck very seriously. But it's still got some games, which is cool. I think it's won all 3 of the games. Actually, I think it's been in, which is sweet. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there. Hope you enjoyed exploring the format a bit with me, and enjoy.